Okay, so we're on. Thank you again, Eric, for being a part of Mansonomics. So Eric, you've owned a few clubs and bars in Portland, a restaurant as well. So just give me like a little bit of background maybe on how you got into that, like what drove you to do that and whatnot.
Okay, sure. I guess originally I started out post college as a DJ and had the opportunity to work for a lot of different owners and operators of bars and restaurants and saw a lot of the good things they could do and also mistakes people had made. And over time, just thought I could put my own energy and spin on it and bought an existing place called Tube that
Mm,
was one of the first places I DJ'd at in 2001,
yeah.
which obviously dates me and how old I am, but
Oh, you were DJing in '01?
I was DJing in
Okay.
'01. Yeah.
Nice.
That's what the year I graduated from college. So
Okay.
I was 21, 22, and just like, what am I going to do after college? I studied communications and always was passionate about music. And so started DJing and, Tube was one of the first places that I DJ'd at and DJ'd around town, then started DJing around the country, got to go DJ in Europe
Mm,
and moved to LA in '08 and lived there for 4 years. And then my wife and I um, decided we wanted to move back to Portland because LA is just like the idea of owning a place there is crazy. Just
yeah,
from
man.
it costs $250,000 to get a liquor license to just the competition is crazy. Like you're competing for celebrities and athletes, and it's just like it's a whole other game down there. So we moved back to Portland, and Tube has always been one of my favorite places, and it was for sale. And so we were like, oh, what an opportunity to buy something that was an existing concept that had brand recognition that we kind of had always thought about ways we could make better.
Did they already
And
have
so
Tube Tuesdays at the time?
they did, yeah. I think that had existed for like 5 years already. Like
Mhm.
it was just like the thing. So we inherited a place that already had a busy weekday, which for a bar is like a godsend because
Mhm.
it's only a 49 capacity room, so you can only make so much money every night. So a place like that, it's all about being busy as many nights as possible. And that's something I can cover later too. Is like the economics of a smaller place versus a bigger place. There's definitely drawbacks back and forth. But to go back to that, so we bought Tube and put in so much time and money fixing everything up. And then it just kind of started from there, meeting other people in the neighborhood, and other opportunities started presenting themselves, and so we started growing from there.
So you approached it from a standpoint as how can I make clubs better and how the nightlife better rather than just let me get the most money as possible.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like I'm really passionate about music, so that's always been the angle that I approach. Is like the DJ's super important.
Mhm.
The sound system's really important. Having gear that people can like actually do their thing on is really important because as a DJ, like there's so many times that you'll show up at a bar and there's no knobs on the mixer, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And you just like aren't treated with like respect compared to how important you are to the success of a place.
Yeah.
So yeah, just investing in those like little things that make it possible for DJs to do like their best job and have people feel appreciated.
Mm. And like how did you go about purchasing that first just the first bar? Was it like savings of your own? Was it like loans or
It was
how
a combination of loans and the owner before was willing to take a down payment and let us pay him off over time.
oh wow.
So I feel
Because
like
of
we
the
put like
relationship you had with him as a DJ? Or was it
uh, um no, like he had talked to us about selling it like a year or two before and wanted a lot of money. And then he came back to us a year later and was like, oh, I would be willing to sell it to you for a little bit more reasonable of a price this time. And it was just like a year long process of like thinking it was going to happen and then it didn't happen. And it was like a roller coaster of emotions. But yeah, he was reasonable. And that's kind of a common thing in the bar business too, is people will be willing to sell it to you for like a down payment and then accept fine, like basically seller financing over time. So it's
that's
definitely for anybody looking to buy a bar, that's a good way to shoot your shot and just say, hey, I'll give you 25% down and pay you back over the next 3 years. So
well, and then speaking of buying a bar, so like I've had this idea with friends over the years. I think I've even explained it to you a couple times. And the conversations we typically have are like, if you own a bar, you can get all this liquor for super cheap, but then you're making millions of dollars because people are just buying shots and they're charging all this money for shots. So how does that really work? Do you really um like, does the money really come in like how we think it does from the outside looking in, just because it's so cheap and the alcohol is so
I
expensive?
wish.
How does that work? Yeah.
So I think like a good margin is you want to make about 20 to 30% profit based on like your sales. So say you sell $1 million, you want to make $200,000 in profit off of it, because like your biggest expenses are rent is huge, and then insurance. It's so expensive to insure a place that sells liquor.
Mm,
So this past year, in deciding to close our places, it was like, all right, we're paying $5,000 a month in insurance, and we can't even sell alcohol. How long are we gonna just continue to like just go further and further into debt with no revenue coming in? So there's a lot of expenses that go into it too. Like payroll is super expensive, payroll tax is super expensive. It really adds up. So you need to be getting those drinks across the bar pretty rapidly to get to that point where it's like, okay, the rent's paid, insurance is paid, staff is paid, DJs are paid, and then you start making money. So in reality, you're kind of the last person to get paid because there's so many fixed costs up front that it's a lot of risk.
and another assumption I think just me and like a lot of my friends and the people I just talk to make about bars in Portland is we tend to assume because Portland's nightlife isn't like LA or New York or something where we don't have that many places to go to. A lot of people just assume that, the Trailblazers are going to one of your bars when they're in town, or I actually saw Marshawn Lynch at Tube one day a couple of years
Awesome.
ago. I was
Yeah,
so
he was.
random,
That's
but
tight.
they just assume that athletes are going to your places and they're spending all this bread because it's really no place else to go. Can you maybe shine a little bit of light on that reality and how you think having a bar in Portland and a smaller market affects you in positively or negatively in that respect?
Um, yeah, I feel like for people that have been to other cities too, they come to Portland. They're like, man, this is the spot. Like it's
Yeah,
tiny. Like Tube is just like a little.
the
It's a
two.
tube.
Yeah.
Um, and where was I going with that? Oh, so like, yeah, I think there's a couple spots that the guys will come hang out at, and luckily for us, we had relationships with people where Dave Chappelle came to Tube,
I remember that.
and Russ and Paul George, when they were on the Thunder, bought out the Fortune VIP. So if you're in with the, I feel like Nike and Adidas really call the shots in terms of where the celebrities go when they're in town. So maintaining relationships with them is super
Yeah.
key
And for anyone who
because
doesn't know this, just pointing out, Nike Road headquarters is here, and the Adidas, I believe, national headquarters is here as well. So
yes, yep. So and Under Armour has a huge office here
yeah,
now too. And so all of the creative agencies that are affiliated with that, it's just like sneaker culture. Portland is the epicenter of that in terms of the business end of it.
mhm,
So that's the main draw of when celebrities are in town. Like Drake will come to town, and it's because he's doing something with Jordan, or Travis Scott's here. So if you're in with the Jordan or the Nike or the Adidas people, your odds of seeing those people in your places are way higher.
yeah. Then that's when networking comes into play too, because a lot of people think networking,
Totally.
think of like working in corporate America and how to move up, but you just spoke to how networking is positive even when you're owning your own business and whatnot. Uh,
Totally. I mean, you and I just met at an event and exchanged
yeah,
info, and here we are 4 years later, like friends and
it's crazy,
checking in on each other all the time. So
definitely.
it's really important.
Yeah, for sure. And just being an owner of a bar and whatnot, and as an entrepreneur, I've also been told just by a lot of, I guess, quote unquote, successful people in my life that, most successful men have a successful woman or a woman behind them or even next to them and in front of them sometimes pulling them along the way. So how do you see being married and having a wife affecting your personal success?
It's essentially everything to me. I mean, my wife is super educated and smart and can do the things in business that I'm not good at, which is like the number stuff and strategizing and forecasting. She does all of that, and I'll have these crazy ideas, and sometimes she'll be like, "That's a great idea," and sometimes she's like, "Yo, that's a horrible idea." And when I don't listen to her is when things go off the rails. So
Yeah.
I think having a partner in life like that is super important to keep you grounded and keep you focused and just keeps you knowing what's important in life.
for sure. And then I'm sure the kids help too.
Totally. They don't help with sleep, but they help with priority stuff for sure.
Yeah. Like one of my close friends is gonna have a second kid soon. He's my age, 29. Actually turning 30 in a few weeks. Could I say happy birthday to Anthony? But he was saying that when he had his first son, his first child, I'm sorry, he had a daughter at first, but he was saying that he's always been a hard worker. I've known him since I was a kid, right? He's always been a
Mhm.
hard worker. I mean, he's a lawyer for goodness sake. So he went to law school and everything. But he was saying how having a child, even as a hard worker as he was, still just changed it triggered something in his head, and he works even harder now. And like having a second child now is just making him pushing him more and making him want to work even more than he was before. Did you see that same type of fire energy in you when you had
Oh,
your first kid?
totally. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I look at time in a totally different way now and how quick it moves and how important it is. And that, everyone always is like, time's your most valuable resource. And now I see it completely.
Yeah,
Like, even just this year, having everything closed and spending all this time with my kids, I'm like, okay, going forward, I need to find a work life balance where I'm here and present way more often and not on my phone all the time. And just all these little things that add up over the course of the day where my brain is in other places. And I just want to be like focused on the task in front of me, whether it's business or kids.
definitely.
And it's super corny to say too, but I feel like the day my first child was born, watching her be born, it was like I was born that day. I feel like it
Sorry.
just like changed everything about me in that second that I saw her. Like the tears flew out of my eyes, and I was just like, "Oh my god, everything is different now."
That's dope, man.
It was crazy.
Nice. Well, also just being what bars did you own in Portland and restaurant?
Okay, pre-COVID, we had Tube, and then we opened Fortune about a year later. Then we opened Revelry about 4 years ago, and then we opened Maxwell, and then we got brought in to Century in February
Mm,
of last year. So we got like a month in, and
dang,
then
boom.
boom, yeah.
Dang. So do you still have ownership in those now, or what's going on
I
with those?
still have ownership in Century, but the other four places, as time went on, and the government was like, "Here's a 2-month band aid." We just were watching our savings dwindle and the debt going up basically daily, and we got to a point where it was like, "There's no way to get past this." And so first we closed Fortune. No, first we closed Revelry because the overhead there is insane.
Mhm.
And then we closed Fortune, and then Tube and Maxwell kind of at the same time. And Century, um, our partners own the building, so they're way more motivated to want to save the business, which is cool. Um, and so we lucked out there, and I think, have a strategy to get past this if the vaccine rollout goes according to plan, and if we are able to open next year.
Well, what were you hoping to see from the government that you think might have helped you and even other small businesses succeed last year and even moving forward? Like, is how did they fail, or um, just like what changes could have been made?
I think bars, restaurants, clubs, hotels, like the hospitality industry has been hit harder than essentially any other industry because our business is bringing people together, and we can't do that. So other countries have essentially paid bars and restaurants to be closed and say, "You're a valuable part of the community and the culture of your town. We're going to save you, but it's also more safe for you to be closed. So here's your operating expenses. Be closed, and we'll see you when we can open." And so a lot of those places will survive. And in America, we didn't do that. So um, there was a bill passed in May by Democrats in the House that essentially was that, and it would have saved most restaurants in America. And it sat on Mitch's desk.
Yeah, I think I saw
It
you
still
post.
sits on Mitch's desk
Yeah,
now, So
as long as no one
uh,
took it the other day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my god, good point. Somebody probably has it framed on their
man,
wall
for
in
real.
Florida. God.
That's crazy, man. But I guess maybe can you speak to a little bit on how it is being a white male in this climate? And I know that you know so many people of color, not just black people, but other
Mhm.
races as well. What are some of the conversations you've had just like around like the culture and the climate going on right now? I mean, we've been a racist country forever, since
Totally.
we were founded, and a lot of people think are just now seeing it. And to me as a black man, I've known this stuff since I was like 5. You know, I grew up with my grandparents who were from the South. They taught me like, you know, the importance of voting and how hard my ancestors worked for me to get to where I am today. And just seeing like a lot of white people, especially nowadays, just starting to learn about it is kind of frustrating at times because I'm like, I've known this since I was 5. How are you 40 years old
Totally.
now learning this? You being just who you are in the community, um, how has it affected you? Like, what kind of conversations are you having? Can you maybe just share a little
Yeah,
about
for
your
sure. I
experiences?
mean, just hearing you talk about, knowing about it since you were 5, that brings me to a conversation I had with a friend who was like, don't wait to have conversations with your white kids because we don't get to wait to have those conversations with our kids. Um, so I've been having conversations with my kids a lot,
Mhm.
teaching them about the racist history of our country and how to work to change that in the future. Um, and also, I'm on a few group texts with some friends that I'm, the one white dude, and
Mhm.
I just take it all in. This year for me has been all about listening. It's not really about my opinion on those things. It's about me learning um, more about our history and how to fix things in the future.
Gotcha.
And also, just like I feel like politicians and people in the world want to treat Black people like they're a monolith, and it's like so counterproductive to moving our country forward. So, just getting different opinions from Black people from all over the country. This thing definitely affects them all deeply, but each story is different, and so I just try to take it all in.
Definitely. I think it's important well, really cool that you recognize that and important as well. Because as we've seen this week, a lot of people don't want to listen. They just want
Totally. And
to
as as
shout.
as a white dude from Portland with parents that are Republicans, I
Oh,
have to I have to clap on them constantly. And it's just like my brother and I share political beliefs and you know continually try to educate ourselves about race in our country. And it's so frustrating to have these conversations with other white family members and they just like refuse to see it.
mhm,
Um, but I feel like they're the people that need to hear it the most.
gotcha.
So
Yeah, definitely. And like things won't change unless, you know, everyone's having those conversations. So I'm happy they're happening now.
totally.
Like what are some of your hopes for the future? As far as, you know, like just Portland goes, I guess, just this city with our bar scene, our nightlife, um, just business in general, I suppose.
Totally. I like the way it was headed. It felt like Portland was getting more diverse and there was more people moving here from all around the country and bringing in like New York mentality and Atlanta mentality. And it was really bringing a lot of like good energy to the city. Um, and I hope that stays. I'm seeing a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter and whatever just talking about leaving Portland. And so I'm worried about what the future will look like in whenever this is over. I don't, there's just so much uncertainty where it's like I feel like even 3 to 6 months into the thing, it was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open spots and do this, and now it's like almost a year later, and the vaccine's going out super slow, and I'm
Yeah,
I know way less answers now than I did then.
gotcha. Do you see the bar scene and restaurant scene like having a revitalization in the next year or so? Do you think it's gonna take a bit longer than that? Like
I think whenever people are allowed to actually be in a bar at full occupancy, it's going to be on. Like
yeah.
the Roaring Twenties happened after a pandemic and a war, and it's like it feels like we're fighting that war right now, and the pandemic's happening. So it's like I'm hopeful
Mm,
whenever it's over. Hope I mean, unless these crazy people overrun the government somehow. I don't. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty. I,
yeah.
I wish I was more optimistic about the state of our country, but it's it's tough.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. Even I saw in the India Times they called it the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh,
Almost, I was like, dang, man.
I
Uh,
mean, we're the joke of the world now.
yeah, for real. Um, we have a leader. Well, someone whose title is a leader, who is just being made a laughing stock by everyone. And then I'm hearing, you know, like a lot of people I know from other countries who are just like, oh my God, I can't believe America is like this. I can't believe you guys voted for this guy. And it's just like, why I didn't do it. You know, this is not,
Totally.
this isn't me. Um, Like,
But
what
this
is
also kind of shows. This also shows like who we are, though. Like
yeah.
the mask is off.
Hmm.
Now the real work has to begin.
Yeah, and I think even like just being in America, we're in a bubble a lot of the time, and I've talked to people from other countries who look at us as like we're just this perfect just empire, and they come here for all these opportunities and whatnot, which we do have. I don't want to like get it twisted and say we don't have opportunity,
Totally.
but they come here and like when they get here, it's a little different than they expect. Um, I forget the guy's name, but there was this Middle Eastern guy just a few weeks ago who I guess came over here to try to get some money to help bring his family over, and he was shot and killed here in
Oh, he was like a Lyft or an Uber
Superpower, I
driver, right?
think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
And it's just like, people talk about the Middle East so bad and it's so dangerous. And we tell people, America is safe. And he came over here and, you know, got killed here, but survived over there for so long. So
Totally.
it's kind of like, Americans, we have this just, this thing about ourselves. We think we're better than other countries and we're safer. And it's like, you're scared to go there, but you're from like Southside Chicago. I mean, come on.
Totally.
But yeah, so I guess one of the last questions I have for you is what's some of your advice for younger people? When I say young, I mean like high school, early 20s and college still, who want to have like their own bar or restaurant one day. Like, like I said earlier, a lot of us think, we're just going to sell tons of alcohol because people like to drink and we're going to get rich. So like, what's your advice and like, I guess words of wisdom for younger people?
I would say get a job at a place that you like, and it doesn't even have to be the best job there. Like wash dishes, bus tables. I've had every job in a bar and a restaurant before, where like you learn how everything is done, and then that way you know how it should actually be run from the top.
Gotcha.
Um,
That in-house experience.
yeah, I mean, just experience helps a ton, and then get a good mentor. I feel like that's really important. I had a couple people that had owned places that I really liked and respected, and they were just an open book to me, and I could ask them any question. And when we first bought two, one of them came to town and like spent a week here just going over operations and saying, "Oh, you should think about this, think about that," and it just like it's really helpful to have somebody that knows and just be willing to listen to them.
Yeah, and I talked to a guy a while back. Like I said, I was interested in opening a bar myself. And I was talking to the owner, well, previous owner of I think it was Fifth Ave at the time, and he
Hmm.
said that your first bar you open is going to be the last one you open because of all the liabilities associated with it. Like he said that some girl got in a fight outside and hit her head and sued him because it was in front of his establishment. So from a liability perspective, are there any like tips or anything that you can suggest for people to protect themselves if they're considering that industry? Maybe
I
like
mean, your insurance company is going to be a super huge bill, but they're really valuable when stuff like that does happen, because it will happen. If you give somebody a drink for whatever reason, the government and everyone thinks that you're somehow responsible for everything that happens for them for like the next 12 hours. So yeah, I mean, it's really stressful. There's this level of stress where you're like laying in bed at night, like, am I going to get a text from my security saying someone got shot or someone fell and hit their head or there was a fight or the cops are there or the fire marshal's there or the OCC is there? Like, it's not all just shaking hands and just like counting the cash at the
yeah,
end of the night. It's just like you got to be prepared for some pretty stressful things to happen.
for sure. And I'm seeing the sun come out on your face. It just came through my window right now too.
Oh, nice.
Just like
Yes.
surprising in Portland.
Yeah, a sunny January in Portland is like unheard of.
Man. Well, I guess like in closing for this, can we talk some Blazers real quick? Like what are your hopes for the team, man?
A title.
Yeah. Win.
Or
Win.
you
But,
mean
like, this year?
realistically?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Dame is so good that there's just going to be one of these moments where it's like he just goes full psycho and we win the championship on his back.
I'm hoping that
Uh,
too. I see Dame the
C
same way
C
as LeBron.
Yo, CJ looks good right now too. Like, I mean, CJ is one of the leading scorers in the league. When Nurk is in shape, we have the pieces to win a title this year.
Yeah.
I know I'm sound crazy saying that we're 4-4, but
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I consider Dame in the same like superstar categories like LeBron, Kawhi, all those guys. Like he's
totally,
up there.
he's a tier one dude for sure.
And then I think CJ has been underrated because he's in the West. But I think if he was in the
Yeah,
East, he would have been an all-star a while ago.
many times, totally,
And like he's even more clutch than some stars in the league. So
totally. Who are your favorite players in the league right now?
for the
Non-Blazers,
Blazers, you said?
non-Blazers. Like, who do you like to
Oh,
watch?
Ja Morant from day one, I thought he was going to be better than
He's
Zion.
insane.
I might sound crazy, but even in college, I saw him. I was like, yo, Zion is not that. That's just my personal opinion. That's just me. So John, I would also say I like to watch Kyrie. He's a little crazy
Yeah,
for me with the whole flat earth thing, but I love
totally.
to watch him play. He reminds me of like an M1 player almost.
Yeah, his handle is crazy.
Yeah. Then like I kind of look at Steph and Dame pretty similarly. I know like their styles different because Steph just runs all the time and doesn't get tired.
How does he do it?
Yeah, I think they're the both probably the best shooting point guards we've ever seen. Like people talk
Yeah,
about Steph being the greatest shooter of all time. I can't think of any point guards besides him who shoot better than Dame, really.
yeah, it's the two of them. They're the best shooters ever, probably.
Yeah. How about you though?
Dame. I love Jaylen Brown. It's weird to watch the Celtics all the time, but I'm always like, I love Jaylen Brown. Just
Okay.
as a person and as a player, he's incredible.
Mhm.
I like Giannis. I wish he would stop shooting threes. Every time he shoots, I'm like, no, you're the best postman since Shaq, maybe. Like he kills people on the block. It's crazy. And I mean, not to spark the debate, but I know everybody wants to do the like Jordan LeBron thing, but I love LeBron.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing at his age, it's unbelievable.
Oh, so you like LeBron over Jordan?
No, Jordan's better than LeBron.
I'm about to
100%.
say, okay.
but like, I don't want to let that diminish me appreciating LeBron and how good he is. Like, he's just, it's like unbelievable what he does.
Well, it's crazy because you can say LeBron is like in my top 5 human beings to ever touch a basketball, and people
Totally.
Are like, oh, you're disrespectful. I'm like, yo, top 5 of the human race, like
right.
ever play basketball.
That's praise.
Yeah, that's not hating at all.
That's how I feel too. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then it goes like, the different eras and whatnot. 'Cause like my uncle used to swear that Dr. J was better than Michael Jordan. That's just his guy, his favorite player.
Totally.
His afro just like him. Like you can't tell him anything.
Yes.
Like his dude. So it'll probably change. Like younger guys will probably think LeBron's the best, and
totally.
Then people younger than them might think Giannis is the best one day. Who knows?
They might if he can get over that hump.
Yeah, hopefully. But I wish he would come to Portland, but that's different.
Him and Dame together would be unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Thank you for the talk today. I think we got a lot of good information for people.
Awesome.
Is there anything else, like words of wisdom you have for just young people in general, even outside of wanting to be entrepreneurs?
Sure. Time goes fast. I mean, I remember when I was in high school like it was yesterday, and here I am, 42 years old, 2 kids, and it's just like every moment is precious. Like it's cool to have fun and enjoy your life, but like if you want to, find success, invest in that.
Gotcha. Oh, and that brings me up to this one last question, I guess.
Yeah, what's up?
So you're 42. That means like you're just in the beginning of your 40s. So far, what's your favorite decade? Between teen years, 20s, 30s, and now the 40s.
Honestly, I would say my 40s, man. It's crazy. Like I feel like everything's coming together where like I'm not old and decrepit where I can't do stuff, but like I've learned a lot where my ego doesn't drive my decision-making process anymore, where I'm just focused on my family and biz and my friends. And that's really all that matters to me. And I'm not caught up in trying to be cool or like distracted by any distractions. Basically, it's like the focus is something that I didn't even think was possible.
Cool. Yes, I'm turning 30 in like 28 days. And people
30s are awesome.
I'd be old. I'm like, nah, I can still go around. I can play basketball. I can still lift. I'm not old. But cool.
Look at LeBron. He could be your hero.
Exactly. Like for everyone out there who thinking like, turning 30 is old, listen to what Eric just said. It's not. He's 40, still feels young. So
yeah, totally. That's when the lessons just really start to come into focus.
Cool. Well, hey man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I hope all the best with your businesses and whatnot. Like I used to have a blast at Fortune. Especially
I used to have a blast with you, man.
Dog,
Yeah, man.
I love it, bro. So I wish you all the best, man. And I'll probably
Thanks,
holler at you again probably later this week.
I'm here for you whenever, man. Appreciate you. All right, peace.
Bye.